So you're thinking of moving to Yorba Linda, but maybe you don't know much about this city, or you're trying to figure out if it's going to be a good fit for you and your family. Well, guess what? Today you're in luck. So if you haven't watched this show before, hi, I'm Josh Alexander, your local Yorba Linda real estate agent, and I was born and raised in Yorba Linda, and I've lived here for almost 40 years. Now, just saying that out loud makes me feel old, but that's beside the point. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about all of the pros and the cons of living in this wonderful city, and that way you're going to be able to make an educated decision if Yorba Linda should be on your shopping list of places to potentially move to. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the pros first. So number one, if you're looking for some place that's peaceful and quiet, then Yorba Linda is going to be a great option for you. So the vast majority of homes inside Yorba Linda are going to be single family homes on larger lots. There's just not a lot of condo complexes and high density housing inside Yorba Linda, which means for you, a lot less traffic and a lot less noise than you're going to find in a lot of other Orange County cities. On top of that, you don't have any high-rise buildings inside Yorba Linda. So if you're worried about privacy, you don't want to be looking up to your neighbor of a 20-story building, you don't have to worry about that. Almost every single home inside Yorba Linda is going to be 2 stories or less, so it's a pretty flat city. You have that privacy and you have that peace and quiet. So number 2 is going to be the school system. So the only time that I didn't live inside Yorba Linda is when my wife and I first got married. We moved outside temporarily, but as soon as we found out we were having a kid, our first thoughts were, how do we get back into Yorba Linda? And one of the main reasons, besides the proximity to free babysitting from grandma and grandpa, was that Yorba Linda is consistently rated as one of the best school districts inside Orange County. Now, every city inside Orange County is going to have good schools. However, what makes Yorba Linda a little unique is that no matter where you go, the schools are rated high from elementary all the way to high school, almost everywhere you look inside Yorba Linda. Whereas in other cities, you might have a great high school in one area, a great middle school in another area, and a great elementary in another area. So to try to triangulate all of that and figure out where you want to live in those cities is a much more difficult task. However, in Yorba Linda, you can pretty much move anywhere inside of Yorba Linda and know that your kid is going to get a great education. Now, just to emphasize that fact, you can look at some of the most popular school rating systems. So the one that I tend to go to is greatschools.org, and I'll pull up this map right here, and you can see that every school inside Yorba Linda is going to be rated very high. So you're going to be able to get that great education, again, no matter where you live inside Yorba Linda. And there's also 3 other things that I want to point out about school systems inside Yorba Linda. So number 1, something to know that if you're moving here in the next year, Bernardo Yorba Middle School is going to be converted into a charter school that's going to be focused on computer science. Now, there was thousands of applications to get into this school, so it's most likely going to be a very big draw for a lot of parents to get in here to be able to get into that computer science charter school. Another thing that's unique about the school systems here in Yorba Linda is once you get into the high school age, every high school, besides the general programs they have, are going to have specialties depending on what your kid wants to do and continue doing as they go into professional careers. So depending on which school you go to, you're going to have different options and different specialties. So just to give you an idea of what those are, and this is by no means a full list of all the different specialties, let me go down the 4 major high schools in Yorba Linda and give you an idea of what their specialties are. So number 1 is Yorba Linda High School, and that's the newest high school in Yorba Linda, built in 2009. It's got a lot of awards associated with it. However, the 2 specialties that they're known for is a business school as well as a culinary arts school. Number 2 is Esperanza, and that's where I went. So the 2 specialties that they have is going to be medical science as well as engineering and manufacturing. Number 3 is El Dorado, and they're going to have a specialty in digital media as well as law. And then last is going to be Valencia High School, and they're going to have a tech academy that your kid is going to be able to attend. So I love these programs because if your kid is interested in a certain topic, it gives them a leg up over their competition as they go through high school and go into college by having that additional experience. And so the last thing I want to mention about the school systems inside Yorba Linda is that if you don't have kids and don't plan on having kids in the house, the school systems are still extremely important when you're trying to figure out where you want to move to, because it's been shown time and time again that if you move to an area that has consistently good school ratings, your home value is going to stay more consistent and go up a little bit faster than everywhere else. So even if you don't have kids, there is a significant advantage in living in a city that has great school systems. Okay, so the third pro of living in Yorba Linda is if you like outdoor activities, Yorba Linda is going to have plenty of them. So let's go through a few of them. Number one, biking. So bikers come from all over the place to come bike in Yorba Linda. One, because there are a lot of bike lanes here, but two, it's relatively hilly, if that's even a word, compared to the rest of Orange County. So it challenges a lot of bikers to go up and down those hills. So whether you're going to work in the morning or going to church, oftentimes you're going to see bikers going past you on all the major streets inside Yorba Linda. Okay, so second on the list for outdoor activities is going to be parks. So Yorba Linda has 29 total parks and a dog park as well. 21 of those parks also have playgrounds. So again, if you have kids, you're going to have playgrounds all over the place to be able to explore. So quick side note, if you want to learn more about the different parks inside Yorba Linda and you haven't already watched all of the park reviews that I've done on this channel, I'll put a playlist right up here if you're watching this on YouTube so you can check it out. I highly recommend it. My kids are doing the reviews, so it's adorable to watch and very entertaining. So go ahead and check that out up there. So because I've been to so many of these parks with my kids, I'd say the top 4 ones inside Yorba Linda to definitely check out. Number 1 is going to be Box Canyon Park. It probably has the biggest playground of all of them in Yorba Linda. Number 2 is going to be Vista del Verde Park because it has a zip line which kids love. Number 3 is going to be Fairmont Knolls Park. My kids named this the Ninja Warrior Park because there's so many obstacles to go over. And then number 4 is Adventure Playground, especially during the hotter months. So it has water slides, a splash pad, zip lines, as well as a regular park too. It does require reservations most of the time. However, definitely one that you want to check out, especially during the warmer months. And also there's some honorable mentions because they're not quite inside Yorba Linda city borders, but right outside it, but they are giant parks. So number 1 is Yorba Regional Park. We're going to be able to do paddle boating, fishing, biking, walking. There's a couple different playgrounds and sports areas for the kids to play on. Number 2 is going to be Carbon Canyon Park, where it has the largest redwood grove out of anywhere in Orange County, as well as 5 other playgrounds and a bunch of sporting complexes, as well as paths to walk and hike on. And then lastly is Chino Hill State Park. So if you love hiking, this is definitely one you're going to want to check out, especially during the springtime when all of the wildflowers are blooming. I take my kids here all the time. The mustard gets basically as high as you are, so it's just a sea of yellow everywhere. The kids love it. It's beautiful. You can hike it, you can mountain bike it, but it's something you definitely want to check out, and one of the advantages of living so close to a state park when you're inside Yorba Linda. So the last thing I want to mention about outdoor activities is Yorba Linda has over 100 miles of trails that you can use. You can walk on them, you can run on them, hike on them, bike on them, and yes, you can also horseback ride on them. So Yorba Linda is also known as one of the most horse-friendly places you can find in Orange County, so it's not uncommon to be driving down the road and seeing someone on horseback riding through on one of the trails. So between all of the biking, the hiking, the parks, the trails, there is a lot of outdoor things to do inside Yorba Linda. So if you're someone that likes to be outdoors, spending the weekends doing things that are out in the sunshine, Yorba Linda definitely needs to be on your list of places to check out. So the last pro of living in Yorba Linda is that it's a safe, family-friendly neighborhood environment. So like I said before, I was born and raised here. I've lived in 5 different places inside Yorba Linda, so I have a pretty good sampling of a bunch of different neighborhoods inside Yorba Linda. Now, when I was a kid, my best memories were going home, getting homework done as quick as I can, going outdoors with all the other neighborhood kids, playing basketball, street hockey, walking and hiking and biking and skateboarding and all that stuff that kids love to do outdoors without my parents having to worry about anything. So those are great reasons to live here as kids in Yorba Linda. However, as an adult now, I can see why my parents wanted to stay here so bad, because these neighborhoods are family friendly. You can walk outside at any point during the day or night in Yorba Linda and you feel safe here. So the 2 places I've lived as an adult inside Yorba Linda, the first place, a cul-de-sac, the neighbors knew each other. We watched each other's houses when we were out of town to make sure everything was fine. And then my newest house that I live in right now, the neighborhood is great. So during 4th of July, we have a kids bike parade that they do. We have Halloween and Christmas decoration contests for the outside of your house. And then during the summer months, we have a giant slip and slide that the neighbors put out that goes down a giant green belt that the kids love to use. So this is a great family-friendly environment where everybody is nice to each other. I've never had an area in Yorba Linda that I didn't like to live in. So if you're looking for that safe and family-friendly environment, Yorba Linda definitely needs to be on your list of places to consider when you're trying to figure out where you want to move. Okay, so although there's some great reasons to consider moving to Yorba Linda, there's also some cons, just like every single city, that you want to make sure you know about before making up your mind on where you want to live. So let's go over those now. So number 1 is going to be pretty obvious if you're looking into moving move here, Yorba Linda is more expensive than most of Orange County. So the average price single family home right now is going for $1.4 million. The average price condo goes for $719,000 right now. So it's definitely not a cheap place to live. Now, if you're looking at renting in Yorba Linda instead of actually buying a home here, the average rental for a 3-bedroom single-family home right now is around $4,200. And if you're looking at a condo, a 2-bedroom condo, let's say, that's going to run you about $2,900 a month. Again, a little bit higher than the average of Orange County. Now, if you want to get some more details on the financial side of things, on how much you need to make to be able to afford the average price home inside Yorba Linda, as well as how much your mortgage payment would be, definitely check out this video right up here if you're watching it on YouTube, where I go over all that information in detail so you can get a much better idea of how much you need to make, what the payments are going to look like, and what you need to be saving up for as a down payment when trying to purchase a home inside Yorba Linda. Okay, so the second con of living in Yorba Linda has to do with the lack of entertainment and food options inside Yorba Linda compared to a lot of other Orange County cities. Now, although the entertainment options are definitely still lacking, when we get to the food side of things, I have to admit the majority of my time living in Yorba Linda, I had 4 or 5 places that I frequented, and I never really went outside of those boundaries. So even though I saw a bunch of different food places inside Yorba Linda, I never really tried them out. However, that all changed when I started this channel, Discover Yorba Linda, because since then, I've gone to dozens of different restaurants, interviewed a bunch of chefs from those restaurants, and tried a bunch of different things inside Yorba Linda. And I can easily say, over these last couple years, we have seen an influx of great restaurants and great food come into Yorba Linda. Yes, it might not be quite as extensive as some other cities, but it's much closer to those other cities than it used to be in terms of the different types of food available and how good it is. So just to give you a few examples of some of the different types of restaurants you can find inside Yorba Linda, number 1 is Monarch Cafe. So it's a Vietnamese restaurant, and in 2022, LA Times rated it as the best Vietnamese food inside Orange County. Number 2 is the Wild Artichoke. So it's a smaller hole-in-the-wall place, but Chef Andrew over there does a great job of combining some French cuisine with East Asian twist to make some great dishes. Number 3 is Terra Woodfire Grill. So it's located right on Main Street, easy to find, right in the middle of Yorba Linda, and everybody has great things to say about that place. Number 4 is Lone Wolf Brewery. So if you're looking for a good beer and to be able to watch a sporting event, it's a great place to check out. Number 5 is Blue Agave. So George, the owner over there, does a great job of combining Latin American as well as Southwestern food together to make some delicious dishes. So not only do we have those places, but we have sushi, we have ramen, we have Thai food, we have Indian food. Pretty much any genre of food that you're looking for, you're going to be able to find in Yorba Linda. So although, again, you're not going to find as many options as other cities inside Orange County, it's getting much closer, and the food selection is still very good inside Yorba Linda. So the third con I need to talk about is commute time. So if you don't work from home, which is becoming more and more popular, because Yorba Linda is a little bit farther away from the center of Orange County, the commute definitely takes a little bit longer than average if you're looking at trying to get anywhere inside Orange County or LA. So let me give you just kind of a few examples of the average time it takes to get to some of the more popular places so you can get a better idea of what your normal commute would look like if you live inside Yorba Linda. So if you want to get to the center of Orange County, which I consider the Costa Mesa Irvine area, depending on traffic, it's going to take you typically 30 to 45 minutes. Now, if it's a hot summer's day and you want to head to the beach, that will typically take you about 30 to 45 minutes as well. But on really hot days, when it's very popular to go to the beach, it could take you up to an hour to get there, depending on traffic. Now, if you need to commute to downtown LA every day, the absolute minimum it's going to take you is probably 45 minutes if traffic is ideal and there's no traffic jams whatsoever, which is rarely the case. So typically, you're going to want to budget about an hour to 2 hours to get to downtown LA if you're trying to get there during rush hour. And then, of course, the one that everybody that has kids wants to know about, it's going to take typically about 20 to 30 minutes to get to Disneyland from Yorba Linda. Now, I say typically because it also depends on where you live inside Yorba Linda. So although Yorba Linda is not a giant city, if you go and move all the way to the very back area by the hills, it could take you 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes some days just to get to the freeway. So you also have to take that into consideration, how close you are to the actual freeway before you figure out how long your commute's going to be. So before deciding to move to Yorba Linda, I definitely recommend putting in your work address from a Yorba Linda address and getting an idea of how long your average commute is going to take, as well as any commutes that you make on a regular basis, just so you know the average travel time that you're going to have to spend in the car depending on what areas you frequent the most. So the fourth con about moving to Yorba Linda is that because we back up to a wildlife area in Chino Hills State Park, the coyote population inside Yorba Linda is going to be much higher than the typical city throughout Orange County. So if you're moving here and you have a small dog, a small cat, any animal basically that you're taking outdoors, you have to be extremely careful, especially outdoor cats. I love cats. I'm allergic to them. You can ask my wife how much she hates when I do this, but every time I see one, I have to pet it. And then for the next 2 hours, I have itchy eyes, itchy throat, my nose is running, but I'll do it anyway. It's worth it. But I love cats. However, every single week, I can pretty much guarantee that either on the Ring app for Yorba Linda or the Facebook page for Yorba Linda, someone is going to post saying that their cat got out, they haven't come back, and almost every single time it is not a positive outcome when they eventually find their cat, if they ever do. So if you're thinking of moving to the city and you have a cat, it really needs to be an indoor cat. If you have a dog, especially under 20 pounds, you just have to understand that if you're taking your dog out, especially in the evenings or the nighttime, you need to be outside with them, whether it's raining or not. Coyotes are extremely quick. They can scale 6-foot walls very easily, come down, snatch your pet, and run off before you can even think about what to do. So if you're moving here with a small animal, you just need to be aware of your surroundings and understand the risks. Now, in terms of the danger to people, typically coyotes leave people alone. So I've run into plenty of coyotes in my years of living here. Typically, they're gonna walk the other direction, or they're going to look at you and then walk away. However, if you have a small animal in tow with you, that's again where you can run into issues. It doesn't happen often, but I've definitely heard of cases where coyotes will come up to a dog on a leash, try to grab it and run away with the owner standing right there. So again, it really comes down to awareness. If you're moving here and you have a small animal, you need to understand where you're moving. And we're in an area that you're going to have more coyote activity, so you just need to make sure you take the proper precautions. So the fifth and final con of living in Yorba Linda has to do, again, with living so close to the hills, and this time it has to do with fire danger. So yes, we do have fires in the Chino Hills State Park area every once in a while. We haven't had a major one come through Yorba Linda since 2008. However, you do have spot fires here and there. Now, in terms of your general safety, again, typically you're not going to have major fire events. The last one that happened was in 2008. We did lose over 100 homes in Yorba Linda. It was the worst one that we've had in a very long time. However, that's not the typical fire year that you usually see in Yorba Linda. So usually you might see a spot fire or two. It gets put out very quickly. And every year they're adding more helipad fire hydrants where they can get water directly from the Chino Hills area to be able to put out fires faster, making everything a little bit more secure. But the reason that I bring it up mostly right now is for those of you that are looking to move here and buy a home here. If you live in a high fire zone, which is part of Yorba Linda, I'll put this map up on the screen right now so you can see it. Anywhere in red is a high fire zone. If you're planning on moving to one of these places, you need to expect your insurance to pretty much be sky high at this point. It's not uncommon to see insurance costs go over $1,000 a month to live in these areas because, as you've probably seen in the news, a lot of insurance companies have already left California, and the ones that have stayed oftentimes aren't covering those high fire zones, and if they are, they're doing extremely high premiums to do so. So if you're thinking of moving here, you need to make sure that you talk to your insurance agent before you place an offer on a home to figure out, one, if it's in a fire zone or not, and if it is, does your insurance company cover it? And if they do, how much is it going to be? Because that could make or break your decision on if you're able to move into that home or not. So make sure that you always check on that insurance before you decide to move here. Now, if you live in the other areas of Yorba Linda that are out of the fire zones, typically insurance is going to be pretty normal compared to the rest of Orange County. You just have to be more careful as you get closer and closer to the hills. So the final thing I want to talk about with the pros and cons of Yorba Linda is that everybody's situation is going to be unique. So after watching this video, if you're thinking that Yorba Linda might be a good option for you and your family, but you're not really sure exactly where in Yorba Linda might be best for you and your specific situation, feel free to use the link below. You can find it in the description or the link in my bio, depending on what platform you're watching this on. And you can set up a free 30-minute discovery call with me. Tell me about what type of amenities, what type of area you want to live in, and I can give you some personal recommendations on which neighborhoods specifically inside Yorba Linda you might want to check out to further refine the areas you're looking at and making sure that you find the best spot for you and your family inside Yorba Linda. And then finally, if you do want more information about Yorba Linda and what it's like to live here, make sure you don't forget to hit that subscribe and follow button, because I'm putting out new content every single week about what's happening in Yorba Linda, exploring different restaurants, different businesses, different parks, pretty much every aspect of life inside Yorba Linda to give you a much better picture of everything you need to know before you decide to move here. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe and follow button, and until next week, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye, everybody.